We're joined by Emad Hussein, editor-in-chief of El-Sisi Egyptian newspaper. Mr. Emad, thank you so much for joining us on this special coverage. And first off, this protest at Rafah is not just historic, it's a direct message to the world. What does this reveal about the depths of Egyptian public sentiment on this issue?
Upon you, greetings to you and to the viewers. The protest today in Rafah is a message to the entire world that what has President Sisi stated last Wednesday as a complete rejection to the displacement of Palestinians, whether sending them to Egypt, Jordan, or anywhere else, it's not just an issue of the Palestinian people, but also the Egyptian people. And that President Sisi also stated not just the president of Egypt, but a symbol of the Arab world, expressing the Arab conscience and to incentivize the world conscience. Even the German Chancellor and the French President rejected the schemes to displace the Palestinian people to Egypt and Jordan.
Now, President El-Sisi's remarks during his joint press conference with the Kenyan President William Ruto reaffirmed Egypt's absolute rejection of forced displacement. How do you assess the impact of his words on both regional and international diplomatic efforts?
This rejection clarified and reaffirmed the Egyptian unwavering position to the entire world, not just Israel and the US. I think that the US will attempt all methods of pressure, and Israel will do the same. The far wing, the far right, will request the application of what has been stated by the US president, but the Egyptian position was very clear, rejecting the implementation forcibly of such schemes, even if it means worsening the relations with the United Nations, but with the United States, pardon.
So the protesters at Rafah are not just rejecting displacement, they're also demanding immediate humanitarian aid for Gaza, and Egypt has been always standing at the forefront of humanitarian efforts. If you can expand more on Egypt's role in delivering humanitarian aid to Gaza.
We're fully aware that Egypt is the main gateway to any access of humanitarian aid into Gaza, and we know that the highest proportion of aid was entered via Egypt, and there are a lot of obstacles undermining the access to aid. Even after the ceasefire agreement between Hamas and Israel with Egyptian, Qatari and US mediation, Egypt is working all efforts possible to enter the most aid possible and the equipment to remove the rubble from the way for a smoother aid distribution. Egypt is the main gateway for this humanitarian aid.
Now, sir, the sheer scale of today's demonstration proves that Egypt's solidarity with Palestine is unwavering. How does this influence Egypt's future role in regional conflict resolution?
We do not need to make new evidence that Egypt is the biggest supporter to Palestine. It is the first Arab state who stood side by side with the Palestinians since 1948, went to 4 systematic wars defending the Palestinian cause in 48, 56, 73. The diplomatic efforts and the political efforts supporting the Palestinian people has never stopped to establish a Palestinian state on the borders of 1967, not just defending the Egyptian national security, but the Arab national security and the Palestinian cause. It has been evident that Egypt is the basis for supporting a Palestinian state, even in the light of the systematic Israeli campaigns on Egypt, most prominent of which what has been published in the Israeli media, which is a great failure that cannot be ignored.
Sir, we've also witnessed the mobilization of professional syndicates, which signals a rare moment of national unity. How significant is this, and what role have these groups played in shaping today's protest?
As you're aware, the protests of today is the gathering of civil syndicates with no intervention of the government, expressing the Egyptian civil society. It is the people's voice. If there is an official stance for Egypt announced by President Sisi 2 days ago, today we witness a people's rejection to such attempts. And we see the syndicates and civil society rejecting the proposals to evacuate or displace the population. We are seeing now a collective people and popular efforts. The entire Egyptian segments are now rejecting and standing with what President Sisi have expressed during the press conference.
Sir, like you've mentioned, Egypt has long been a key mediator in Palestinian peace negotiations. How does today's protest reshape Egypt's diplomatic stance and strategy moving forward?
The Egyptian strategy is unwavering. Egypt has a very strong relations with the United States, not an official relation with Israel. That with no relations will be restraints for the fundamentals of the Egyptian stance towards the Palestinian cause, which has been clearly stated by President Sisi. Egypt will not compromise its situation, but when it comes to threatening the Egyptian sovereignty and evacuating the population voluntarily or forcibly, we can go back to the fundamentals stated by President Sisi. We will never accept such injustice to be imposed on the Palestinian population, as we will not be part of the evacuation process.
Now back to the protest. The presence of prominent public figures at this protest underscores its national importance. What message does their participation send to both domestic and international audiences?
The message expressed by this is that all Egyptians are unified behind ending the Palestinian cause and evacuating the Palestinian population, supporting the Palestinian people and its right in establishing an independent state on Palestinian territories on the borders of 1967. Egyptians have expressed this support once more and more.
Now, sir, with the continued Israeli aggression and displacement proposals, how do you foresee Egypt's commitment to the two-state solution evolving in the coming months?
Our position on this is very clear. Since 1948, there is no other solution other than the two-state solution. Any other kind of coordination or negotiation will be to solve this conflict via politics. Now we see the U.S. president adopting the other proposals in line with the far-wing officials in Israel. The U.S. Administration should be aware that we support only the two-state solution. Since the 48, we have witnessed all kinds of killing and evacuating and displacement the Palestinian people, and nothing peaceful came out of it, more killed and injured of the Palestinian people. And the Palestinians are still holding on to their lands even after the destruction and bombing and shelling. and that's not going to change in the future. The only solution here is only the two-state solution.
Now, sir, looking at the picture, what signal does this massive demonstration send to world leaders, and how should the international community respond to Egypt's firm rejection of displacement?
Naturally, the international community is aware of the Egyptian rejection to the displacement officially and on the people level and by all political powers, and so the international community should practice pressure on the US president, as his proposals are not applicable whatsoever.
Sir, are you with me? Okay, and now moving to the fact that tomorrow we'll be witnessing the fourth round of the exchange deal. And I want to ask you about your expectations. Will it go as smoothly, or will we witness delays like we did last night?
I think that the Israeli are always resorting to creating more obstacles, and I don't think that they will commit fully to the commitment, and they will go back to war after having 33 hostages by the end of phase 1. This agreement is exposed to be ended, and the statements by the US president is reviving the far right aspirations to go back to war. So I am not optimistic about the future of this agreement.
Mm-hmm. Sir, you've mentioned Egypt's historical stance on Palestinian sovereignty. How does it compare to today's political reality, and has this protest reinforced that stance?
This protest is supporting the Egyptian political situation, reaffirming the fundamentals regarding the Palestinian cause. It's not a cause of a syndicate or a political party or even President Sisi. He said, President Sisi stated that even if he accepts the displacement scheme, the Egyptian people will never accept it. It is a cause of the entire nation, the entire Egyptian and Arab nation, which is a very important point that should be considered by the US president, who is disregarding all the fundamentals. He's working as a real estate broker, treating with Gaza as a distinguished geographic plot of land, not a territory that belongs to millions of Palestinians who has left on this land for thousands of years.
Now, from a regional perspective, how do you interpret the Arab League's and other regional organizations' reactions to Egypt's stance and today's mass protest?
The Arab nations have a very strong position rejecting the displacement and the necessity of the two-state solution, but I think that the Arab world and Arab nations to have a more decisive position, and the United Nations also should support Egypt and Jordan rejecting such schemes, and to ensure stability in the region through the two-state solutions as stated by President Sisi. And then now we see the protest in Rafah sending a message that these fundamentals cannot never be overlooked.
Now, integrating Egyptian media into our conversation, what role do you think Egyptian media has played in shaping public opinion and mobilizing support against Palestinian displacements?
Of course, the Egyptian media plays an integral role to portray the reality as is, and to portray the facts and the necessity of establishing a Palestinian state, how the conflict started and how it is going forward. The 1948 war and the 1967 and the Israeli politics that are not only a threat to Palestine but for the entire Arab region, the national security of Egypt and the Arab world as a whole. Only also the Israeli extremist statements.
Now, sir, tomorrow we'll also witness the first medical evacuation of 50 Palestinians who need medical care. Will it go as smoothly, or do you think there will be complications from the Israeli occupation forces?
Once again, we can rule out the obstacles created by the Israeli side. Israel needs to receive the 33 hostages, and that's why they will let it go by. But they will create more obstacles once phase one is over. We might be surprised tomorrow by new obstacles or delays, as what happens yesterday, making the excuse of the Palestinian source of celebrations of the hostages release. It's of course a failure of the Israeli side, and the Palestinian population is still standing.
Now, sir, what is the significance of Egypt leading these regional protests, and could this inspire similar movements in neighboring Arab countries?
That the people rejection will be recurrent, and we will see it in more than one place, in Lebanon, in Jordan, and other Arab capitals. Of course, some Arab states suffer from very challenging matters, but the Arab support to the Palestinian cause remains a top priority, so we can and we might see such protests in Arab capitals and also European capitals.
Building on what you said, could this demonstration set presented for larger regional mobilizations against Western-backed Israeli policies?
Of course, here we talk particular about the U.S. policies, the U.S. behavior, who makes the U.S. Totally complicit in the conflict, using veto and providing weapons and bombs to Israel. There are some states such as Germany and Britain who supported the Israeli agreement, and they participated and the veto right in the Security Council. We have seen also demonstrations in the European capitals against these policies. A lot of people now are aware of the volume of suffering of the Palestinian people.
Now, given the scale of this protest, what are the chances of a broader Arab coalition forming to counter displacement efforts?
I really hope from the bottom of my heart, as an Egyptian citizen, to have a decisive Arab position. Of course, we see the people of the entire Arab world rejecting the displacement, but there is a huge difference between the people position and the government position. The Arab world should send a message to the United States and Israel that the Egyptian stance is not an individual stance. It is the stance of the entire Arab world that should be expressed to President Trump, who only understands the language of interests. He should understand that there is a complete and utter Arab rejection for his proposal.
Now, sir, in light of the developments of the exchange deal process, to what extent does this indicate Netanyahu's political failure from your point of view?
if the process of exchange takes place fully, and we see the second, third phase, we will see the complete failure of the Israeli side. We have seen a lot of Israeli officials talking and being sarcastic about the Netanyahu term of complete victory. 4% of Israelis think that Israel actually won or achieved some kind of victory. Most Israelis see that it is a clear Israeli failure. The Palestinian people are still on the lands, and any attempts to evacuate are rejected and opposed strongly. And the Palestinian people are holding on to the rubbles of their homes, as Israel could never also free their hostages. But it proved that the Israeli politics and the Israeli army committed a genocide that pushed the ICJ to issue an arrest warrant and to hold Israel accountable for their actions.
Now, this protest at Rafah crossing was fueled by great citizenship disapproval regarding the forced displacement of Palestinians. What does this reveal about Egyptian societal attitudes towards the Palestinian issue?
Once again, this protest is evidence on the national deep sentiment of the Egyptian people towards the Palestinian cause. The Egyptian stance has never changed towards Israel. Even the new generation now who were viewing Israel as an advanced country with some kind of democracy compared to Arab nations, these generations see now the Israeli state, fascist state, as they really are, and consequently the one of the few advantages of this aggression that it removed the democracy from Israel.
Thank you so much, Mr. Emad Hussein, for your valuable insights and for all the information you provided us with. Thank you so much for being with us.